Okay, 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to the NFL Alumni's coverage of Super Bowl 59. I'm Bram Weinstein. We're presented by Pacera. Better is possible. He needs no introduction. The one and only Ryan Leaf.
Hello.
Is here. Great to see you.
You too. How you doing?
Great to see you. Great.
Yeah.
You know what I want to ask you about? I've always wanted to ask you about, because everyone knows your story and the background. Are you surprised you're still connected to football in the way that you are now and have been for a number of years, based on the experiences you had with the sport?
I think it was a conscious choice, on my part. I think that the story would have been told, and if I wanted it to continue to be told kind of with revisionist history and in a negative tone, then I don't probably spend any time around football. But with the decision to, kind of get back in the game, start calling games, NFL games, college games, doing a lot of analysis and stuff, Good Morning Football and things like that, what that did is it allowed me to tell the truth, and it allowed me to kind of take and remove the power of and maybe change the narrative into something positive. And I think that's where and why I think I continue to be around the Super Bowls like this and being a part of it.
As you thought about moving forward, was there a tug to separate yourself from the sport? And did something kind of draw you back in?
Yeah, I did, man. I mean, it was incredibly toxic for me. But then you got to look at it like football never did anything to me. Football gave me everything. Football wasn't the problem. I was the problem. And so I had to go get myself fixed. So once I went and did that and figured out what I needed to do to, to be a better person, that's when football came back into my life. And that's why it's been so enjoyable over the last 10 years of my life, being able to be a part of it. There's nothing more than I like than to go into a pro football stadium now these days and call that matchup.
Yeah.
I mean, and who would have thought if somebody told you 10 years ago when I walked out of a prison cell that, oh, you know what, I bet you Ryan's calling NFL football games, 10 years from now.
Yeah.
They would have said and looked at you like you were nuts. That's no way that's going to happen.
So how did it happen?
Howie Deneroff. Howie Deneroff at Westwood One Radio he's doing it 35 years, he's been doing it forever. And, I started calling college games, and I was doing a lot of work on Good Morning Football and, and I had my own show with PointsBet, and so we talked about the NFL and stuff like that. And he'd heard me call a few college games, and I went for an interview with him in 2020, and he just gave me a shot. I think I got one game my first year.
Yeah.
It was a Tennessee Titans LA Chargers game on Sunday Night Football, and and the rest is history. It's just kept jumping and moving. And last year and this year I got playoff games, and so that's how it happened. Somebody took a shot on me, and listen, that's not what people want to do. These are networks, right? They're selling ads, they're doing things like that. They don't want somebody with my baggage, so my resume goes to the bottom of the pile. So I have to be pretty good at it. I better be better than everybody else, otherwise I'm not getting the gig.
Yeah.
And so I've worked really hard at it. I've found that I'm really good at it, and so I've taken advantage of it, and I really enjoy it.
I mean, it's an interesting story to tell other alumni that no matter where you've been, you can still get where you want to be.
This is the best thing in the world. So I spoke to all the seniors at the Senior Bowl on Friday night, and I asked them how many know who I am or know my story, and probably almost all of them raised their hand. And I said, is it because of a negative or a positive? And about all the people that raised their hand and said positive.
Huh.
And that's also because these guys were born in 2002, when my career was over, and they were too young to know about what they know me as is this analyst who's a real supporter and advocate for players. They also see me as someone who goes and on these campuses and talk to them about advocating for them and have their best interests at heart. So I think that goes to show every alumni out there that is really more important. Just breathe. Just breathe. This too shall pass. Those types of things. That doesn't have to be your story. You rewrite your history. You just don't keep compounding that same problem over and over and over again. So I think that's what I may be is just a great example of that. And hopefully one that helps other guys know that you can do whatever the hell you want. You are not the worst thing you've ever done. You are the sum of all its parts. And the fact that you an NFL football player showcases you are incredibly talented, successful, and pretty much can do anything you ever wanted, probably.
So if they come to you and they say, I want help managing my mental health, what would you say to a young person who's in the league or someone who's out and trying to transition to whatever's next? What would you tell them?
I said that's great. First off, I'd say that's great. I'd give them a hug. And then I would say, I would give them some places that would really be beneficial. I'm not a doctor, I'm not somebody that's going to be able to help with their brain chemistry and things like that.
Yeah.
I can really share with them what worked for me. And I work really closely with the Menninger Clinic, which is in Houston, Texas, and it's a state-of-the-art psychiatric and substance use disorder facility. But they also have a deal with the NFLPA, which is our union. And every time I go down quarterly to do my work as an ambassador with them, there'll be anywhere from 8 to 12 former players there. And so that's the asset that exists when people come to me. I say, I have a place where you can go and get the help that you need that can change the way you look at things and how you can accept it. And if they're not ready for that, there's other ways you can go about it. That's maybe not so intrusive in the way they would look at it. So that's the best thing I can do. To your point, I'm not a doctor. I'm not gonna try to give you advice around stuff that is medical or scientific anyway. What I'll do is I'll tell you how it worked for me.
Yep.
And try to give you the best possible path I can that can change your life, hopefully.
Let me ask you about a major event in the calendar, which is the draft. You had an interesting, obviously, experience with that being such a high draft pick. Of course, going to be compared to the other quarterbacks that are coming out at the same time. What do you remember about your draft experience?
Well, my draft experience was a lot different than most people's because, like the moment that Peyton and I said we were going pro, well, Peyton was because his eligibility was up, but once I said it, it was done. We're going to be the first and second picks. We wouldn't have to do anything. We didn't have to go to the combine. We didn't have to train, do a workout. We didn't have to do any of that stuff if we didn't want to. It was a done deal. And then it was just a matter of whether or not, Indianapolis picked me or they picked Peyton. So it's much different. We just kind of rode into it. We got to really enjoy, experience it all. And we were really together, him and I, and our families. And it really got us to know one another. And here we are both at 48 years old. Well, he just turned 49 the other day, so he's old. He's much older than me, and we both have 2 kids. We're both in broadcasting. We have a production company.
Yeah.
We do a bunch of philanthropic stuff, and it's kind of come full circle.
What if I told you 10 years ago you and Peyton Manning would be doing the same things again?
No. Peyton wrote me while I was in prison. He invited me to his Hall of Fame induction. A lot of people ask me why I was going, and I'm like, because he's a friend, and it's amazing. There's 370 ever to be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I think it's pretty freaking cool. First time I was ever there. And it's also when I got to meet Howie Deneroff. Only way I met him. Only way I met the CEO of the Menninger Clinic. Both those events.
Yeah.
By going to Peyton's thing, why everybody said, why would you go do that? I met the CEO, Armando, of the Menninger Clinic, who I have now worked for 4 years, and now we're helping NFL players because of it. And Howard Deneroff, who was the head of Westwood One, who would, over the last 4 years, give me a career in NFL broadcasting because of it. So all because I was just I want to go support a friend, do something that no one in this world would have thought that is possible, and all that came from it. So I think it's a continuing education of just be open to anything.
Yeah. Last thing. So, how do you view the league now from when you came into it as a player to now as a broadcaster with access, astute observer of it? How do you kind of view the league now?
I think it's incredibly entertaining. I think you have amazing players. I think that the speed, size is unparalleled. The product, is hit or miss just because of the rule changes. When you've played in an era where rules are different, it's going to feel different when you watch it play out that way. I was used to getting, the protection of the quarterback in the pocket has to make it so much easier in terms of your willingness to hold on to the football longer, to take chances down the field and things like that. I don't know what that would feel like, so that's the biggest thing for me. I still think that the players are incredible. I think what they get to do and the entertainment value it brings is absolutely huge. I'm never going to be the one people are complaining about it and say they're not going to watch on Sunday. I guarantee you right now it's going to be a record of people who watch it on Sunday. Yeah. So it's everything that it gave me everything, and it continues to give me everything, and it also will continue to give me an opportunity and a platform to be very critical of the NFL when they don't do the right things. I think it's a big reason why Park Avenue doesn't like a lot of the things I have to say sometimes, but I think you should be able to speak truth to power, and not many people do. But when you've been at the very bottom in a prison cell, and the idea of telling Roger Goodell that he's he's a fraud about something, it doesn't cost me anything anymore. And so, the likes of Troy Vincent, former player who's kind of, it seems really foreign that he has taken up that mantle and things like that. So the players, I am their brothers, I'm their advocates, and I'm always going to be that way. And the people that are in charge, I'm going to be very critical of them. I'm going to praise them when they do the right things, and then I'm going to be really critical of them when they don't.
Ryan, it's a pleasure having you on. Thank you so much for taking the time.
You bet. Thank you.
All right.